Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with my all-time favorite, most wonderful, best co-host of all times, Jen Albanese. Hey, Jen.
Wow, that's so much to live up to. But hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast.
Very excited guest today, Dr. Haley Perlus, with a background in psychology, sports psychology, but she's also a businesswoman that connects with performance and helps companies. So just a really interesting entrepreneur, but also a professional in the world of sports psych. So something that we haven't had before.
Yeah, I was going to say a very different guest and should be a really interesting conversation, just kind of in that area. Again, not anything that I'm very familiar with. So I'm looking forward to learning from her and kind of what her role is in sports. So,
and also I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand the difference between like clinical psychology and sports psychology. So I think she'll be able to do a lot of insights on those people that kind of maybe want to get into that field or want to engage with people in this world and understand what she does. So it's a great opportunity for those that are trying to understand sports psych a little better.
Yeah, and how important it is and how so many teams and universities, professional and collegiate, are looking to sports psychologists now to work with their athletes and help them just get to that next level. So it's definitely something that's very prevalent in the world.
I was a psychology major in college, and I remember taking a sports psych class, and really the difference between like mental health and sports psych, and one's more performance based and one's more kind of day-to-day mental just dealing with like your well-being and life. And so clearly there's overlaps between some of it, but just the difference in how you get credentialed and what you do. And so I think a lot of people don't understand that. And they think it's just like all the same, which it is not. And I'm sure Haley will give us a nice explanation of that.
You're gonna have lots to talk to her about since you're the sports psychologist over here.
I do want to jump into something that's why things are not all the same, but they're called the same thing. And that is that you question this difference between vanilla and French vanilla ice cream tonight.
Okay, so let's just set the stage. So we were at a birthday party and we were getting a piece of cake and they were like, okay, would you like vanilla? And it was like either French vanilla or regular vanilla.
It's because we just had extra ice cream and we just...
And clearly, like, I get that, like, that's always an option. And, you know, but I guess I've never really thought about it. So I was like, give me a scoop of both and we'll do a little taste test. I mean, French vanilla wins all day, every day. Okay. There's no way. And French vanilla is so much better. We'll put a poll out on social and ask everybody what they think, if they like French vanilla or regular vanilla. Don't
I really
you agree?
wonder what the difference is. Well, you said from a taste difference that French vanilla is like sweet, not sweeter, but
it's like smoother. It's like smoother.
Well,
I don't know how to explain it.
The way it's whipped or like the taste of it's smoother?
The taste is like smoother when I was eating it with my cake. Then I think it was just like the vanilla was very like harsh flavor. Like it tasted fine, but like the French vanilla was like, oh, this is nice. And this is very exciting to eat.
So it's like in France, it's just smooth and
well, that's what initially you said. And I was like, wait, what's the difference? And you're like, well, one's from France. And I'm like, no, it's not.
That's not true. That was not an honest comment.
Everyone's going to be like, they're making this crap up.
They're both probably made in the same factory outside of New Jersey or something. 100%. But like...
But then you throw in like, you think about like vanilla, like soft serve, and that is like a totally different flavor and taste. Like,
yeah, but that's still like regular vanilla. It's just in a different form.
But it doesn't taste like regular vanilla hard ice cream.
I think we're going to have to do more research and understand like what makes French vanilla
here you go.
Different.
What's the psychology behind it, sir?
I think it's a literal like mix of like you put in like this. It must be like a different type of vanilla bean or something that they're putting in.
That
it's
like
got to
makes
be
sense.
Like part of it. Like there's got to be like a reason why it's not just because like all of a sudden like this one's French. I did try and also tell you because one's white and one's off white and you didn't believe that. So no. I tried really hard to figure out.
I really do think it's probably the bean and there's the doctor in you, Maury, being like, they're like, you know,
this is just me reasoning. I'm not admitting to understanding this at all. I probably am going to go on Google after this like whole episode and understand the difference between vanilla and French vanilla just because now I'm a little more curious after the conversation.
I know, but seriously, we're going to put a poll up so that people can vote what they would like. Like,
I think you feel strongly that French vanilla is going to win hands down.
Hands down. That's my opinion. But I mean, my opinion is one person, so we'll see what everybody else thinks. What do you think? What did you think?
I think that you use different things for different instances.
No, what do you mean?
Like, I think that, like, if you're having like a regular ice cream sundae, like vanilla ice cream is right. But like, if you want like put it on your pie, like apple pie with French vanilla ice cream, I think could be better. So I think that you have to like have everything in its place.
It's like wine. It's like a pairing with wine, ice cream. You just pair it with things.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a ice cream sommelier.
I don't think that's even a thing.
I don't think it is either. But with that,
you're just an ice cream scooper.
I'm just a scooper is what it is. So with that, very excited to have our guest today, Haley. Coming up, you can learn about the different types of the difference between sports psychology and more mental health psychology, but also the whole world of being in sport performance. And we're looking forward to having her come after these messages.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
Absolutely. Today's guest works with some of the world's top athletes, brands, and fitness experts to help individuals and corporations move past mental blocks and achieve results uniquely tailored to their goals and expectations. She received her BA in Kinesiology from the University of Western Ontario and her MS in Sports Pedagogy from the University of Florida. She also attended the University of Northern Colorado for her Ph.D. in Sports Psychology. With her knowledge and personal experience as an elite athlete, coach, fitness professional, and entrepreneur, Ph.D. in sports psychology, and overall wellness enthusiast, she provides her clients with the mental toughness tools necessary to achieve their highest level of performance. We're very excited to welcome Dr. Haley Perlus to the podcast. Welcome.
Hi, Haley. Welcome.
Hi, Jen. Thank you, Jen.
How are you?
Fabulous.
Thanks for doing this. This is awesome.
I'm really excited. We're really excited to hear about mental health, about being in sports and what you can do to achieve your best. And, maybe some things about how you decided to get into this field and why was it like an important thing. So we'd love to hear all about your tips for sports psychology and being in the world of athletics.
Sure. I do have a story to share how I got into the business.
Go right into it. We'd love to hear.
Perfect.
Okay. So I was 12 years old and I was an athlete and I was competing in a pretty big competition, the World Championships for my age group. And my coach pulled out $100 bill and told me that he had bet on me to win. And in that moment, I realized that not at 12 years old, I now know, but in that moment, I realized that I could either feel or think anger, frustration, worry. How could a coach bet on me? What if I make a mistake? Or my head could go into challenge and passion and confidence. If my coach believes in me, why shouldn't I believe in myself?
Right.
So I ended up going down that hill because I do remember thinking, if my coach has high expectations, doesn't that mean I'm doing something right? So I did go down, I did win. My coach congratulated me, kept all the money for himself. But he did say to me, it's amazing what your performance can be when you get your head straight.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 weeks later, he brought a sports psychologist to come and speak to my team about all things mindset. And ding, 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 I went home at 12 and I told my parents that I wanted to be a sports psych gal when I grew up.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, at 12 years old, that's so awesome. To already know, like, that's where you want to go, that's awesome.
What your passion is.
Very fortunate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I feel very fortunate. And that I stayed the course. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, why don't we tell all those people a tip that you think would be helpful to get into this world of sports psychology or just in athletics in general?
Sure. So in sports psychology, there are some really specifics, and I did not know this when I was going through school, but there's 2 ways to do it. if you become a medical doctor, you go through med school.
Yeah.
But to become a sport psychology expert, there's really two ways. One is through sport and exercise science, and the other way is through psychology. So you can get all of your degrees in sport and exercise science focusing on sports psychology, or you can go through clinical psychology and then just specialize in sport.
Yeah.
And they're very different. So really, I have a Ph.D. in sports psychology, but I'm not a licensed psychologist, where others are a licensed psychologist. And I think that's really important to know. For example, when I was still in my Ph.D. program, I went to a university on the verge of graduating, but I went to the university to see if I could not apply for a job because it didn't exist, but ask to be the sports psychology gal for the university.
Yeah.
And she looked at my credentials and she said to me, if golf and tennis paid for the programs, we'd want a performance psychology expert like you. But because because it's basketball and football, and sorry, there's a lot more substance abuse, anger management. Like, there are just other issues at hand. We need more of a counselor. And so that door was closed real quick.
Right.
So that's important to know for people who are getting into the field. For me, I don't really know that I wanted the full-time job because I always had this entrepreneurial spirit, but I was kind of spreading my wings. So it wasn't a huge disappointment, but for some people it could be.
Right.
Right.
So really there's the root of performance and concentration, how you can kind of best get the most out of your performance. And that's kind of where you concentrate compared to maybe more mental health related counseling and, dealing with kind of things maybe outside of just general sports that are more generalized to someone's human condition, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, Maury, that's exactly right. So that's probably a good second tip, is to understand that there's two real disciplines. One is performance. So that would be motivation. That would be confidence. That would be concentration and anxiety control, like how to get into your ideal zone of functioning. And then there's mental health, which is really your social, your psychological, your physical, overall well-being. And they're two different, a great example, which I think we all know the name Michael Phelps. A great example is Michael Phelps. He knew how to perform. He had the performance psychology down. He was the most mentally tough athlete, but he now talks and has a huge passion and mission towards mental health because he didn't necessarily have that overall well-being. And it goes the other way around. Now they do work together. They do help each other, but it's really important to know what your passion is and what area you want to focus on.
That's awesome. And where have you been feeling like how did you decide performance is really the way you wanted to go over something like a mental health side of things?
I love stress. No, I don't love stress.
I was like, wait, what?
I love helping people harness stress. I love as a performance enhancement tool. So I really liked the performance probably from when I was 12 years old, and my coach put a whole lot of stress on me and I was able to embrace the pressure. I want to help others do that too, because in athletics, as we all know, people either train better than they compete, but we don't want that. We want them to compete at or even better than they train. And a lot of that has to do with the emotional impact of pressure and stress and high expectations. So that to me is just amazing. And however, though, in my practice, within my abilities, like I'm very clear on my boundaries and I know when to refer and to ask someone to supervise me because they're clinical. Sometimes if an athlete has an eating disorder, for example, if I can talk about confidence and not necessarily focus on the eating disorder, but talk about anxiety control and confidence, it can help with that mental health as well.
Right. It's that crossover between everything, hitting your peak performance at the right time, getting the right out of everything. So no, that's awesome.
I think when you talk about like stress and kind of harnessing it for good, I feel like that's for anybody. Like I'm listening and I'm like, that's something that, I think a lot of people deal with, whether you're an athlete or not, whether you're in the sports industry or not. There's always stressors in your life and how you react to those and how you can channel those to be more in a positive than a negative. Like you said at 12, like you could have gone down one way or the other way. Like how do you find that positive? And that's something I think can kind of go across all, not just for sports. So that's really interesting.
And another great tip, because So I started off in sports, but now I work in the sport industry, the business industry, the corporate industry, and also health and wellness. So these tools are transferable. So even though I stay in my lane with regards to the topics, the topic can be applied to all industries of life.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Number 3, I think we're on the third tip.
I think we're on 3. Yes.
So what would your third tip be for those people out there?
I think that was the third, but I could be wrong.
No, maybe we're 4. I'm sorry. Jen's got to keep me honest sometimes.
Well, no, the whole stress thing, I was like, what are the tips for that? I would like to know.
I can keep talking and talking.
No, that's good.
I do have another tip, and it's something, it's an interesting, and I think I discovered it while I was doing it, but now it's like a strategy for myself. I don't necessarily go to where the competition is. I go to where there isn't a lot of competition. So I'll give you an example. When I was still pursuing my Ph.D., so I was still a student, but I had a master's, so I could be an adjunct lecturer. I could start teaching at the university. I didn't call the schools that already had sports psychology. I called the schools that did not have sports psychology, and I asked if they'd be interested in me teaching and introducing sports psychology. And so and to start my public speaking, not only was I a sport coach, and now I have this degree in sports psychology, I was also a fitness instructor. So to start my speaking, I didn't only go to where sports psychologists were speaking because I had a lot of competition. I went into the fitness industry where there was no sports psychologist. So I was able to kind of not bud the line because there was no line. I just found an area, which then allowed me to really get some experience early on and practice those skills.
Where do you feel like has been the most, how did you track to get into fitness and look at that? Was it through your own experiences, or what was the most helpful way to find that road and that path towards finding people and clients and building a relationship?
Yeah. So again, I'm just really fortunate. I grew up as a sport athlete, a skier, but I also grew up as a dancer. My mother was always putting us in dance class, but she too was a group fitness instructor. So it was all around. So I started teaching dance when I was 14. I started teaching fitness when I was 17. And so I was already working in the club environment. And then I had a wonderful, fabulous fitness instructor who kind of took me under his wing and taught me how to teach, but he was also presenting at conferences. And he would bring me along, not to do sports psychology presentations, but he'd put me on stage with him. So I'd be the one on the stepper, while he was walking around.
Yeah.
So I got comfortable in that platform, and I got to meet the people and learn how to apply for these presentations. And so I did in the field of sports psychology, sport and exercise psychology. And so that's how this is really my 5th tip, if I can, but I really believed that what helped me was because I was learning all this new lingo and new language in the sports psychology science. So I then wanted to apply it to things I already knew. So I already knew fitness. I already knew ski racing. So I started in an environment that I knew people. So connections are huge, but I also spoke the language. So I didn't have to learn a different language of a new sport and try to apply sports psychology. I knew the language and I just applied the sports psychology.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because you were in that. You understood you could put yourself in their shoes and be able to relate to kind of what they were going through and kind of help them through it. So that's interesting to think about it that way.
Yeah, because I think if we jump onto something when we're just starting out, we want to say yes to everything.
Right. Exactly.
But we also want to do that with confidence, so that we can build momentum, build a reputation. So you need to do those things strategically as well.
Awesome. Before I get to the last question, or Jen asked the last question, a lot of our students that are out there, or people that are professionals that are listening to the podcast, might be interested in getting a PhD or going through that academic process. And in doing that, why did you choose that route? How, what drove you towards that way? How did you go about making the decision to go that route? Because a lot of people get nervous or scared or might not understand the process. So what drove you towards doing that high level degree?
Great question. And that just actually reminded me of sixth tip.
We are just tip after tip. I love it.
If I can be completely honest, it was the street cred. I really felt, now I come from I have a father who is a surgeon. So he was a doctor, and it just came with prestige having that PhD. And so I was taught that it would help me get into the door. And then I have to prove myself, because then the people just need to know that you care, and they need to know that they relate to you and that you can help. But having the DR in front of my name, you probably know yourself, is really it really works from that standpoint. But then I have to prove myself.
Right.
And I do believe referral is a big thing. So someone who doesn't have a PhD, if a friend tells a friend about them, that person may get chosen over me, but at least someone will stop to think, because I am a doctor.
Yeah.
So that was that why, even though it was 10 years.
Yeah. Well, how did you go about deciding what programs to look at? How did you dive in and say, hey, I want to take this step? Because I know for me, it was kind of a big decision when I decided to go and make that jump. And a lot of people get very nervous about the idea of doing that. So how did you kind of navigate that?
I don't know that I had the same experience with you. I think it wasn't an inevitable. It was just the path I was on. However, my decision making, I don't know that I would repeat that. So I went to the University of Florida for my master's, and I chose that program because it was a great program, and I knew someone that was already in the program who spoke highly of the advisors. And I went there, and I really, as I was going through, because I wanted to start practicing before, I wanted to start my career. And I'm a ski racer. Well, that doesn't really work in Florida.
No, that's a hard place to be a ski racer.
It makes a lot more sense to be in Syracuse than Florida for ski racing.
So that's why I chose the state of Colorado to go and do my PhD.
Yeah.
However, I almost got kicked out of my program. I was asked to consider leaving after year 2.
Wow.
And it wasn't because I'm a bad student. It was because my advisor and I didn't necessarily have an agreement. I really wanted to be practical, applied, and I wasn't really following the script of a student who was going to be doing a lot of research. So I didn't really meet their requirements. And so to anyone out there, not only if you're going to make a big decision to do your PhD, you really want to don't choose the location, choose the school, choose the advisor, make sure that their interests match yours, so that it can be a very smooth, healthy 4 years.
No, I can so relate to it when I was going through, and I ended up having to change my advisor actually because they left the institution in the process of getting my dissertation going. And luckily for me, the person that came on was great, almost better than the first person, not anything against the original advisor, but really kind of said to me well, I know that we're kind of put together. How do you want to go about this? And it could have been a totally different scenario where they could have said, oh, you need to do it this way. You need to look at things the way that I want to, but they really gave the platform, and how people don't realize how important those advisory processes and matching your interests with who the faculty members are, and how much time you should really explore how that program is, because it can make it more difficult, as you said, to get through the process, your dissertation, the writing, the research, without kind of being in alignment with the faculty that are there.
It is key. And when anyone asks me, how do I choose my program? That is the first priority in my mind.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Jen, final question.
All right. So our last one, Haley, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
In addition to everything I just I am learning, and it's funny because I'm going to talk about goals, and I'm a sports psychologist who talks about goal setting. I believe in having direction, and especially if you're passionate about it. I knew I wanted to work on the mindset with athletes, but then have some flexibility to be open-minded and curious to learn what you don't know, because things can take shape. And for me, now that I'm in business sport, business, and health and wellness. I don't know that I knew that was going to happen. So just have your goals, have your focus, have your purpose, right, but also just, keep a lookout and don't be so narrow-minded that you lose sight of some great new opportunities that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, some of the most surprising things are those things that you weren't thinking were coming your way. Like that they can be the most rewarding, I guess would be the right way to put them.
Yeah, just those new opportunities, and you never know, like, because everything is ever changing. Every industry is always changing, and to be able to be flexible and open-minded to other things is always important. And that's across, again, like I said, across all sport. It's good to have that flexibility. So that's a good one, to be open to all opportunities, which is good. So
I'd also say stay in your lane.
Yeah,
if I can. No, I just last little bit. I could throw up on everyone.
No,
but
we appreciate it.
No, this is great.
I have certifications in nutrition and fitness and coaching.
Right.
But I let those experts take care of the neck down. My
right.
area of expertise is the neck up. So I understand all of that.
Yep.
And I'm going to stay in my lane.
Well, that's an awesome tip.
Sometimes
I wish sometimes Jen and I could definitely speak to, sometimes we feel like it would be nice if people would let everyone get in their own lanes once in a while. So it's a good check-in for all those professionals that are listening. Like, are you really in the area that you are trained in and supposed to be?
Like, coach, you're a coach. That's your job.
We'll help support the other stuff for you.
Yeah. That's why everybody else is here.
Well, Haley, it was so lovely meeting you. Thank you so much for your time. And, please share all your socials. You have some amazing things out there. So please share with our listeners all the things that you have going on so that they can check up with you on social media and your other platforms.
Oh, right now? Okay,
yeah.
So the best place is my website, drhaleyperlus.com. You can find my book, my master classes, you can actually opt in and write me a message. I'm the one that gets it. So I'll write back and answer any questions. And then, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, but go to my website. It's the best place to connect with me.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it.
We'll share all that on our socials too, so everybody can connect with you. And obviously make sure you're following us, everybody, on our socials at Ath Career Pod, and on all your podcast platforms as well. So this has been really, really interesting. And thank you for sharing all of your tips, Haley. We got so many. I feel like we got way more than 5. So
we got more than we bargained for.
You have to rename your podcast. Yeah, you have to rename your podcast.
This episode's going to be like 20 tips and tricks with Haley. This is fantastic.
Well, thanks thanks for being here. And thanks everyone for joining us. Please make sure you follow us every Tuesday for our new episodes, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye, guys.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.